this is a program that I made that shows real-time hardware ray tracing. And when I first got this ray tracing working using the GPU, I was pretty excited, but the problem was there wasn't really anything to show because having these colored cubes move around looked exactly the same as it would have if it were just using normal rasterization instead of ray tracing. And so I thought about what could I do that actually shows that this is ray tracing and do something that you can't do with standard rasterization. And the classic stereotypical technique is reflection. So I thought, okay, perfect. I will add a reflective mirror into the scene. And so that's what I've done. So what we have are these two cubes. The one at the bottom is just moving automatically. I'm not doing anything, but the top one I can use the keyboard to move around. So you can see that I'm moving that, but then I've put a plane behind them that reflects, and so we can see their reflections. So hooray! Hooray for ray tracing. One of the problems with this, though, is I say that you can't do this with rasterization, but that's not exactly true. And in fact, in old games, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe even a little bit more now, you used to see reflections kind of like this, and the way they did it, the way games did it back then was just to render something twice. There's these planar reflections, meaning it's just a flat plane that's reflecting, and so you can just make a mirror image pretty easily. And so I added one other thing. Let me move the camera back. So it's not just a plane in back of us, but there's also a floor plane, and you also saw lots of reflections on floor planes in old games, but you wouldn't see a floor plane and a vertical mirror plane at the same time reflecting like this, and especially not at the same time you can see that they're reflecting on each other. So cool. That's something that rasterization can't do. Now, even saying that, there's one other thing. More modern games, not from 20 years ago, but let's say the past 10 years, roughly. More recently, there's a technique called screen space reflections, and so you do see a lot of reflections in games, and not just on a single plane like this, but any kind of surface can reflect, and games have gotten pretty good at that. But the one thing, the one really obvious thing, I should say, that ray tracing can do that screen space reflections can't do is to reflect things that you can't see with a normal camera. So when I first got my card that could do my video card that could do ray tracing, I played Control, that game, and immediately something that stood out to me was, oh, I can see not just the normal reflections I'm used to, but I can see her face, even though the back of the head is what I'm seeing in my camera. When she gets up close to these glass walls, I can see her face reflected, even though her face isn't visible from my normal camera, and that was really cool. That was something that I thought, oh yeah, ray tracing. I hadn't even realized how much I was missing it until I had it in a game, and so you can see that same phenomenon here. There's the backside of these cubes in our normal camera, where we can see kind of the red and blue, but then in the reflection we can see their their faces. There's the cyan and magenta color that you don't see in the back, and so all of those things together shows that this is actually ray tracing working in hardware running at 60 frames per second, which is pretty cool, even though it's a dumb little program. Hopefully I can keep adding stuff, and so the images actually look cool, but just in terms of technology, this is a nice demonstration of something ray tracing can do that rasterization can't, that I got working in a program.